The air inside the alien research facility hummed with the steady whir of machinery, the glowing lights casting an eerie hue on the metallic walls. Floating far above a forgotten world, this high-tech station had once been nothing more than a place for routine research, scanning distant galaxies and ancient civilizations. Yet today, it was buzzing with an unprecedented sense of urgency. The command center was filled with alien scientists, their strange, angular faces bathed in the flickering lights of the screens before them. The leader of the team, Zira, stood at the forefront, her sharp eyes scanning the data that now filled the large holographic display in front of her. She was young for a scientist, driven, ambitious, and quick to see the potential in every piece of technology she encountered. But what she saw on the screen now was unlike anything she'd ever expected. "We've intercepted a distress signal from Earth," Zira announced, her voice steady, but carrying an undercurrent of excitement. "It's a transmission from an ancient underground military base. This signal hasn't been active for thousands of years. It's impossible. Humanity was considered primitive by the Galactic Council, so how could they have created something like this?" The rest of the team, a mix of aliens from various planets, turned their attention to the screen. The signal was encrypted, the message fragmentary, but a few words stood out. "Warbeast, unleashed, containment failure." The words flashed, and then the screen went black. The transmission had been cut off mid-message, leaving behind a chilling sense of finality. "Warbeast? What kind of weapon is this?" Another scientist, Azek, asked, his voice tinged with disbelief. Zira didn't answer immediately. Instead, she studied the data in front of her, running simulations and analyzing the transmissions. For a brief moment, a grim realization settled over her. This was no ordinary weapon. It wasn't just a bomb or a shield. This was something far more advanced, something beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen, let alone understood. "This signal, it's not just a warning," she muttered to herself. "It's an invitation, a warning, or a trap." The idea hung in the air, making the other scientists uneasy. Zira turned sharply to her crew. "We're going. We need to find this base, figure out what they've unleashed." The scientists quickly began to prepare for the journey. A warp gate was activated, opening a rift in space that would lead them directly to Earth, to this ancient, hidden military site. The team wasn't sure what they would find, but they were all driven by the same burning question. What exactly were the humans hiding? Why hadn't the Galactic Council known about this powerful technology before? Within moments, the research vessel shot through the rift, traveling at faster than light speeds. The crew looked out from the ship's viewing bay, seeing nothing but the vast emptiness of space before they entered the atmosphere of Earth. The planet below was a swirling mass of blues and greens, but there was something strange about the place. It had a history of war, a history that should have been wiped away by the passage of time. The ship descended toward a remote area on Earth's surface. It was a desolate, forgotten landscape, and as they touched down, the atmosphere felt ancient, heavy with the weight of years long past. The scientists stepped off the ship, their boots crunching on the dry, cracked earth as they made their way toward the entrance of a large, buried underground facility. The ground was littered with remnants of old human technology, half-buried and rusting from years of neglect. As they entered the base, the eerie silence greeted them. The air was thick with dust and decay, but there was something unsettlingly alive about the place. This wasn't just a ruin, it was a tomb, and it seemed as though the very walls held their breath in anticipation. "Start the scan," Zira ordered, her voice now sharper, more alert. The team spread out, using their advanced tools to scan the area. They found nothing at first, only more relics from a forgotten war. But then, as they ventured deeper into the heart of the base, they stumbled upon something truly astonishing. There, buried in the center of the facility, was a massive, dormant figure. It was nearly the size of a building, a colossal creature that seemed to blend organic and mechanical elements into one terrifying being. the shape of its limbs, the plating on its body. Everything about it seemed wrong, unnatural, yet undeniably advanced. Its face was a twisted mix of human-like features and monstrous design, giving it an aura of primal power. The Warbeast. By the stars, this is it. Azek whispered in disbelief, his voice trembling as he approached the creature. This is what they were talking about. This is no ordinary weapon. It's alive. Zira felt a chill run down her spine. She took a few cautious steps closer, examining the creature from all angles. It was in deep stasis, its systems completely powered down. But Zira could sense that something was not quite right. The Warbeast, despite being dormant for so long, still seemed to pulse with energy beneath the surface. It was as though it were merely waiting for the right moment to awaken. "We need to wake it up," Zira said, a mixture of curiosity and dread in her voice. "We need to see if it's functional. What kind of weapon is it? How powerful is it? Why would the humans abandon something like this?" The alien scientists began their work. They activated the dormant systems, initiating the sequence to bring the Warbeast back online. The lights in the room flickered as energy surged through the creature's massive body. The team watched in silence, holding their breath as the Warbeast's mechanical limbs twitched, and then, without warning, its massive eyes flickered open, glowing a deep, menacing red. A soft hum filled the room as the countdown began. Sequence initiated. The computer's cold voice echoed through the base. T-5 minutes. The scientists froze, their eyes wide in shock. What had they just done? "Shut it down. Shut it down now," Azek screamed, but Zira held up a hand, too stunned to move. Before anyone could react, the Warbeast's body began to stir. Its massive frame lifted from the cold metal floor, and its enormous head turned slowly toward the scientists. Its glowing red eyes locked onto them, sending a shiver down their spines. "No, this isn't possible," Zira muttered to herself. She felt a sense of dread creep up her spine, realizing that what they had awoken was not a simple weapon. It was something far more complex, far more dangerous. The countdown continued. T-4 minutes. "Run," Zira ordered, but it was too late. The Warbeast's mechanical arm lashed out suddenly, its massive clawed hand striking the walls, tearing through metal and concrete as though it were paper. The base groaned under the assault, and the team scrambled to escape. As they fled, the Warbeast continued to awaken, its systems coming to life one by one. The countdown ticked away relentlessly. The team had no idea what kind of destruction the creature would bring, but it was already clear that they were in far deeper than they had ever imagined. The Warbeast wasn't just a weapon. It was an ancient force, designed to destroy entire worlds if necessary. With the countdown at 90 seconds, the Warbeast's eyes flared brighter, its energy levels rising. In the midst of their chaos, Zira caught her breath as the countdown reached its final moments. The situation had spiraled out of control. She had to make a decision, but time was running out. The screen faded to black. The fate of the scientists and the Warbeast hung in the balance. What would happen next? The silence was deafening. The countdown had barely reached 90 seconds when Zira and her team realized just how badly they had underestimated the situation. The Warbeast, now fully awakened, stood towering over them, its mechanical limbs clicking and whirring with mechanical precision. The massive creature's glowing red eyes scanned the room, its body still emanating an unnerving hum, like a predator surveying its territory. Zira's mind raced as she scrambled to regain control of the situation. She had never encountered anything like this. Nothing in all her years of studying alien technology, nothing in the vast databases of the Galactic Council had even hinted at the existence of such an incredible fusion of biology and machinery. The Warbeast wasn't just a weapon. It was a living, breathing, intelligent organism that had been augmented with technology beyond anything she had ever seen. "What have we done?" Azek whispered, staring at the warbeast as it towered above them, its mechanical claws flexing in anticipation. The team scrambled to decode the warbeast's operating system, but the creature seemed to be aware of their every move. It wasn't just a mindless machine. It was alive, and its instincts were far more advanced than any AI the aliens had ever created. The scientists worked frantically, trying to access the creature's control panel, but the interface was unlike anything they had encountered before. It was as if the warbeast's operating system had been designed to thwart any external influence. Every time they tried to access a system, it shifted, adjusted, and countered their efforts. Zira's hand shook slightly as she typed in command after command, only to be met with a frustrating dead end. It was as if the warbeast was refusing to let them control it. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl echoed through the room. A second warbeast had activated. This one was smaller, but it was equally terrifying. It moved with unnerving speed, its sleek mechanical limbs propelling it forward like a lightning strike. The scientists barely had time to react before the creature pounced. Azek's cloaking device flickered on for an instant before it failed completely. The warbeast's biomechanical senses had already adapted to their technology, rendering their cloaking devices useless. The alien scientists scattered in every direction, trying to take cover, but they were no match for the warbeasts. Zira barely managed to duck behind a massive console as the warbeast's clawed foot smashed into the ground where she had been standing just moments before. The force of the impact reverberated through the facility, sending tremors through the walls. The creature's sleek, armored skin reflected the lights from the alien facility, making it look like a living weapon, a creature designed not just to survive, but to destroy. The team's weapons, eye-guided plasma guns, advanced ion blasters, failed to make even a dent in the warbeast's armor. Each shot was absorbed by the creature's mechanical skin, its biological intelligence adapting to counter their attacks. It was as if the warbeast was learning from each strike, figuring out how to avoid their attacks with terrifying precision. "Retreat, fall back," Zira shouted, her voice barely audible over the chaos. She could see the fear in the eyes of her crew as they fought to escape the relentless assault of the warbeasts. The second warbeast, smaller but faster, darted after them. It weaved through the labyrinth of corridors, its eyes glowing red as it tracked the scientists. The walls, once thought to be indestructible, now seemed like little more than fragile barriers against the fury of these creatures. The warbeast's claws scraped against the walls, leaving deep gashes in the metal, its strength far surpassing the facility's engineering. Zira and her team stumbled through the base, their footsteps echoing off the walls. They tried to use their eye-based weaponry to fight back, but nothing worked. The warbeasts were too fast, too intelligent, and their biological adaptability made it nearly impossible to predict their moves. The team was being hunted by a force that had been designed for one purpose: to annihilate anything in its path. The facility's once pristine halls now seemed to close in on them as they fled, the metal walls buckling under the weight of the warbeast's strength. Zira's mind raced. What kind of weapon had humanity created? What kind of mind could have conceived such a terrifying combination of biology and machine? Was this what the humans had hidden from the galaxy all these years? Had they known what they were creating? Or had they, too, underestimated their own creation? As they ran, Zira glanced back, trying to make sense of the chaos. The smaller warbeast had caught up with one of the other scientists, its claws extending with deadly precision. Before Zira could react, the scientist screamed in agony as the warbeast's mechanical limbs impaled him. It was over in an instant, too fast to save him. Her heart pounded in her chest as she pressed forward, determined to survive, to understand what had gone wrong. But with every step, the urgency grew. The warbeasts were not just attacking. They were learning. They were evolving. They had already adapted to the team's technology, and soon they would learn how to use it against them. The team continued to race through the corridors, the hum of the warbeasts' movements growing louder. Zira's thoughts raced. She needed a plan, something that could stop these creatures before they destroyed everything. But how? How could they fight something that was both alive and mechanical, a hybrid that outmatched anything the galaxy had ever seen? Suddenly, Shira's wrist communicator beeped urgently. She glanced down at the device, barely able to make sense of the incoming message. It was a signal, a faint transmission from a different part of the base. Her pulse quickened. The signal wasn't from the Warbeasts, nor from any of the remaining crew members. It was a distress signal, but it was from the Warbeasts' creators. It was a warning. Zira glanced at her team, her eyes wide with realization. The Warbeasts were not just weapons, they were something far worse. They were the result of a long-forgotten human experiment, an ancient war against forces that no longer existed. This was humanity's last-ditch effort to protect itself against a galaxy that had turned its back on Earth. And now, they were awake. The alien scientists were at their wits' end. Their once advanced research facility had become a crumbling maze of wreckage as the Warbeasts relentlessly hunted them down. They had tried everything: cloaking devices, advanced weaponry, AI systems, but nothing had worked. The creatures, a terrifying mix of biological and mechanical engineering, had adapted to everything they threw at them. The Warbeasts were no longer just weapons. They were predators, far beyond the aliens' understanding, unstoppable, and far more powerful than anything they had ever faced. The team was nearly defeated. Their once calm and composed demeanor had been replaced with panic and desperation. The walls of the facility seemed to close in around them as they stumbled through corridors, fighting to stay alive. The destruction the Warbeasts caused was unlike anything the aliens had ever imagined. No one, not even the most advanced alien species in the galaxy, had ever encountered such a lethal force. Zira, who had once been so sure of her knowledge, found herself questioning everything. She was beginning to realize just how out of their league they were. The Warbeasts weren't simply machines. They were an extension of humanity itself, created by humans, for humans, in a way that defied the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to create life, or weapons, or both. Just as the team began to lose hope, a new figure appeared. Dr. Marcus, a human expert in ancient technology, was brought in by the aliens to help decipher what was happening. He was a historian of sorts, but his area of expertise was Earth's military past, particularly the long-forgotten technology humanity had once wielded. Marcus had spent years studying human warfare and had become one of the foremost experts on Earth's most dangerous creations, particularly the Warbeasts. When Marcus entered the facility, he immediately took in the chaos. The alien scientists were scattered, each trying desperately to regain control of the situation. The Warbeasts, once thought to be nothing more than relics of Earth's past, were now wreaking havoc in the alien research facility. Dr. Marcus, Zira said, her voice strained, "I'm glad you're here, but we need answers. Now. These creatures, they're tearing through everything. Our technology, our weapons, they don't work. What are we missing?" Marcus, who had been calmly observing the situation, finally turned to face her. His eyes were focused, serious. "What you're dealing with are not just machines. They're more than that. These Warbeasts were designed for one thing: survival. They're the ultimate protectors, capable of fighting in the most hostile environments." Zira furrowed her brow, still skeptical. Survival. But they're destroying everything in their path. They're far beyond any technology we've ever seen. How were humans able to control them? Marcus nodded grimly. It wasn't easy, and they weren't meant to be controlled by anyone other than humans. These creatures were designed as weapons, yes, but they were also protectors, guardians created to defend humanity from destruction. The technology that powers them, it's not just mechanical, it's bioengineered. They are alive just as much as they are machines. The key to controlling them lies in understanding that balance. Zira looked confused. But how are we supposed to control them now? They're tearing apart our systems. Nothing we do is working. What can we do that you humans didn't? Marcus' gaze softened for a moment, and then his expression hardened. You can't control them, but you can survive. If you want to stop them, you need to understand what they are. They're more than just war machines. They're a symbol of humanity's fight for survival. They were created during Earth's last great conflict, a war so devastating that humanity feared it would never recover. These creatures were the last line of defense. Zira took a step back, the weight of Marcus' words beginning to sink in. She had never fully understood the emotional depth behind human technology. To her, the Warbeasts had always been a relic, a dangerous weapon buried beneath the surface of a primitive planet. But now, as she listened to Marcus speak, she realized that the Warbeasts weren't just weapons. They were a part of humanity's soul, created to protect, to fight for survival in the face of overwhelming odds. They weren't just designed to fight for victory. Marcus continued, his voice growing more intense. They were made to ensure humanity's survival. The Warbeasts embody the strength, the resilience, the sheer will to live that defines human nature. When the Warbeasts were first created, they were a symbol of hope. They were humanity's last, desperate stand. And now, they're a reminder of how far we were willing to go to ensure that we didn't go extinct. Zira, who had always seen humanity as primitive and unworthy of much attention, now saw a different side of their history. Her skepticism began to melt away as she realized the true power of the Warbeasts. They were not just weapons, they were a symbol of human tenacity, of an entire species' determination to survive against impossible odds. But as the alien scientists prepared to launch a full attack on the Warbeasts, Marcus spoke again, his voice sharp and urgent. You don't understand. You can't control them. If you attack now, they'll only become more dangerous. They'll adapt, they'll learn, and they'll destroy everything in their path. The Warbeasts weren't designed to be controlled by anyone other than humans. You won't be able to command them with your technology. Zira shook her head, disbelieving. What are you saying? Are you telling me we should just let them destroy us? Marcus didn't flinch. No, but you need to understand what you're dealing with. These Warbeasts were made for humans. They respond to human presence, human commands, human intent. If you don't understand that, you'll never stop them. For the first time, the alien scientists stopped in their tracks. Their weapons, their systems, their technology, all of it had failed. They had underestimated the power of these creatures, and now they were faced with the reality that their advanced technology was no match for the Warbeasts. Zira's mind raced as she processed Marcus' words. It was hard to believe, but she was starting to see the truth. The Warbeasts weren't just mindless machines. They were intelligent, adaptable, and designed to protect humanity. They were more than just weapons. They were a testament to the strength and resilience of a species that had fought to survive, and they were bound to humanity in a way the aliens could never fully comprehend. As the Warbeasts continued to tear through the facility, the aliens realized they had only one option left: to trust Marcus. But would it be enough to stop the Warbeasts before they destroyed everything in their path? Time was running out, and the countdown to disaster was ticking away. Zira looked at Marcus, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and hope. What do we do now? Marcus looked back at her, determination in his gaze. We fight, but we fight on humanity's terms. And with that, the battle for survival began. The battle between the alien scientists and the Warbeasts was not just a clash of technology. It was a fight for survival, one that neither side had expected. As the Warbeasts rampaged through the facility, their movements were swift and unpredictable. They were no longer just ancient weapons. They had become something far more terrifying: intelligent predators, able to learn and adapt to anything thrown at them. The aliens were beginning to realize just how out of their depth they were. Zira, who had once been confident in her species' technological superiority, found herself scrambling for answers. The Warbeasts moved with terrifying precision, easily dodging laser blasts and avoiding every trap set for them. The aliens' cloaking devices failed to hide their presence, and their most advanced weapons were no match for the Warbeasts' adaptability. The creatures seemed to anticipate their every move. In the midst of the chaos, Marcus, the human expert, stepped forward. He had been working alongside the aliens to understand the Warbeasts, but it was clear that they needed his expertise now more than ever. "We need to approach this differently," he said, his voice steady despite the destruction around him. "The Warbeasts aren't just machines. They're alive. They can think, adapt, and react to their environment." Zira's eyes widened. She had never considered this possibility. She had always seen the Warbeasts as nothing more than advanced weapons designed to be controlled by humans. But now she realized they were more than that. The Warbeasts were a living, breathing part of humanity's past, designed to protect but capable of destruction beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. "We need to interface with them," Marcus continued, his tone urgent. "These creatures respond to human intent, human presence. We need to tap into that connection if we want to stop them." Zira hesitated. The idea of cooperating with a human, of using human technology to control the Warbeasts, seemed almost impossible. But in that moment, she knew they had no other choice. The Warbeasts were unstoppable, and if they didn't work together, the facility, and everyone inside, would be destroyed. With Marcus leading the way, the team began to adapt. They worked quickly, connecting their advanced systems to the Warbeasts' biological and mechanical components. Slowly, they began to establish a connection with the creatures. It was a tenuous bond, but it was their only hope. But just as the team made progress, the Warbeasts became more aggressive. One of them, a massive creature with glowing red eyes, charged toward the aliens. Its claws tore through the walls of the facility with ease, and its roar echoed through the halls. The team opened fire, but their weapons had no effect. The Warbeast leaped into the air, its agility defying logic. It landed with a crash, and the shockwave sent the aliens scrambling. The battle had begun in full force. The team was forced to retreat, but the Warbeasts were relentless. They pursued the aliens, tearing through the facility as if it were made of paper. The scientists fought back, using their advanced weapons, but nothing seemed to slow the Warbeasts down. They were faster, stronger, and smarter than anything the aliens had ever encountered. Above them, in the sky, the facility's defense systems activated. Orbital bombardments began to rain down, aiming to destroy the Warbeasts from above. The flashes of light illuminated the battlefield, but the Warbeasts were unaffected. They dodged and weaved, their biological instincts allowing them to avoid the deadly blasts. The aliens' most powerful weapons were rendered useless. Zira and Marcus worked together, trying to find a solution. They were surrounded by destruction, and time was running out. The facility was collapsing around them, and the Warbeasts showed no signs of slowing down. Then, in the midst of the battle, something unexpected happened. One of the alien soldiers, Bonner, a close friend of Zira, rushed forward to protect her. Bonner had always been brave, but today his courage was put to the test in a way that no one could have predicted. He fought with everything he had, using his advanced weaponry to hold the Warbeasts at bay. But the creatures were too powerful. Bonner's death was swift. As he tried to protect Zira from a Warbeast's deadly strike, the creature's massive claws tore through his armor, and he fell to the ground, lifeless. The moment of loss was devastating. Zira, stunned by the sight of her friend's sacrifice, felt a wave of grief and anger wash over her. Bonner had given his life to protect her, and it was a loss she could never undo. The death of Bonner caused a shift in the alien team. They had always seen the humans as inferior, as a species that lacked the strength and intelligence to face the challenges of the galaxy. But Bonner's sacrifice, the sheer determination and bravery he had shown, was something the aliens had never expected. It was a moment that reminded them of the true power of humanity, something that went beyond technology, something that could not be measured by mere weapons or machines. Zira stood in silence for a moment, her heart heavy with grief. But then, she looked up at Marcus, who had seen everything unfold. "We can't let this be for nothing," she said, her voice filled with resolve. "We have to stop them. For Bonner." Marcus nodded, his eyes filled with the same determination. "We will," he said quietly, "but we need to focus. We have to use the Warbeasts' strength against them." The team fought on, with renewed focus and purpose. The death of Bonner had sparked something deep within them. They realized that they had underestimated the Warbeasts, but they had also underestimated the human spirit. It wasn't just about technology or weapons, it was about fighting for something greater than themselves, about protecting those they cared about. Together, with Marcus' guidance, the team found a way to interface with the Warbeasts. They used their connection to the creatures to turn the tide of battle. Slowly but surely, they began to regain control. The Warbeasts, once chaotic and uncontrollable, started to fall in line, responding to the humans' presence and intent. But even as the tide began to shift, the team knew that the battle wasn't over. The Warbeasts were still powerful, and the facility was still crumbling around them. But with Marcus' knowledge, Zira's leadership, and the sacrifices of those who had given everything to protect them, the aliens began to realize that humanity's true power lay not in their technology, but in their heart, their will to survive, and their unwavering determination to protect each other. The battle was far from over, but one thing was clear. The Warbeasts were no longer humanity's lost creation. They were their last hope. The aliens had underestimated humanity for far too long. They had viewed humans as primitive small creatures, barely worthy of attention in the vast, complex galaxy they governed. But in the darkened corridors of the alien research facility, something was unfolding that would shake their understanding of the universe to its core. The Warbeasts, humanity's ancient creations, were more advanced and powerful than anything the alien empire had ever seen. And humanity, as it turned out, was far more formidable than the aliens had ever imagined. As the battle raged on, the situation grew desperate. The Warbeasts, once considered mere weapons of mass destruction, were now a terrifying, uncontrollable force. The alien scientists and soldiers had tried everything. Advanced weaponry, cloaking devices, even orbital bombardments, but nothing seemed to stop the creatures. They were too fast, too powerful, too unpredictable. It was as if the Warbeasts had an intelligence all their own, one that no amount of technology could override. The aliens were running out of options, and the facility was crumbling around them. Zira, the ambitious young alien scientist, had been working tirelessly to find a solution. She had come to respect the power of the Warbeasts, but the thought that humanity had created such creatures seemed impossible. How could a species that was considered so primitive have developed technology so far beyond anything the alien empire had ever imagined? It didn't make sense. But the more she saw, the more she realized that the Warbeasts were more than just machines. They were alive. They were connected to humans in ways she couldn't understand. It was at this moment that Marcus, the human expert, stepped forward. He had been silent for much of the battle, but now he knew what needed to be done. He had studied the Warbeasts for years, and it was time to reveal the truth. As the aliens stood by, watching in confusion, Marcus spoke up. "The Warbeasts don't just respond to humans because of their programming," he said, his voice steady. "They respond because they are biologically linked to us. These creatures were designed to bond with human DNA. They were created to protect, to fight alongside us, to be our ultimate weapon. But they can only be controlled by humans." Zira's eyes widened. She had heard the stories of humanity's ancient creations, but she never thought they could be true. How could something like this be possible? The Warbeasts were machines, biomechanical wonders, but they were more than that. They were alive in a way that nothing the aliens had ever created could be. The connection between the Warbeasts and humans went deeper than mere technology. It was biological. Marcus moved toward the control center of one of the Warbeasts, his steps slow and deliberate. The alien team watched in disbelief as he approached the massive creature, which was still kneeling in the corner of the facility. The Warbeast's eyes, glowing with a fierce red light, seemed to recognize Marcus immediately. It stirred, its mechanical limbs shifting with a smooth, almost graceful motion, as if it were alive. Without hesitation, Marcus stepped into the control seat of the Warbeast. The creature's massive form loomed over him, its armored skin gleaming in the low light. It was a terrifying sight, a towering biomechanical predator, a force of nature in its own right. But Marcus seemed unfazed as he interfaced with the creature. The moment Marcus connected, something extraordinary happened. The Warbeast knelt before him, its massive head lowering in a show of submission. It was a gesture that stunned everyone in the room. The aliens who had spent years studying the Warbeasts had never seen anything like it. The creature wasn't just responding to a command. It was acknowledging Marcus as its true commander. The realization hit Sira like a thunderbolt. These Warbeasts, these ancient creations of humanity, were not just powerful. They were intelligent, sentient beings, bound to humanity by a deep biological connection. The creatures had been created to fight for humans, to protect them, and to follow their commands. And now, the aliens understood. Humanity was far more advanced and formidable than they could have ever imagined. The Warbeasts were humanity's greatest legacy, and they were now under human control. The alien scientists were left in stunned silence as Marcus took full command of the Warbeast. They had seen the power of the creatures firsthand, but to realize that humanity had created such a force, one that was biologically linked to their very DNA, was a humbling experience. The Warbeasts were no longer just relics of a forgotten past. They were the ultimate weapon, the apex predators of the galaxy. With the Warbeasts now under human control, Marcus turned to face the alien team. There was no time to waste. The battle wasn't over. The alien forces were still advancing, and the Warbeasts were humanity's last hope. Marcus knew that the Warbeasts could be the key to turning the tide of battle. But he needed to act fast. "We have to stop them," Marcus said, his voice filled with determination. "We have the Warbeasts. They're our only chance. Let's end this." The alien team, still in shock, nodded in agreement. They had no choice but to follow Marcus's lead. The Warbeasts were their only hope. The final battle began. With Marcus at the helm of the Warbeast, the alien team launched their assault. The Warbeasts charged into battle with an unmatched ferocity. Their massive forms tore through the enemy lines, cutting through alien soldiers and machines like a storm. The aliens had no chance against the sheer power and speed of the Warbeasts. They were unstoppable, a force of nature that no one could control or defeat. Zira watched in awe as the Warbeasts, once thought to be humanity's greatest mistake, became the galaxy's most powerful weapon. The aliens had always seen themselves as the dominant force in the universe, but in that moment, they knew the truth. Humanity was the true apex predator, and they had just unleashed their greatest creations upon the galaxy. As the final moments of the battle unfolded, the Warbeasts continued their relentless assault. The alien forces were obliterated, and the once mighty alien empire was left in ruins. The Warbeasts, under human command, had proven their power, and humanity had proven its place at the top of the galaxy. The aliens who had once mocked humanity, who had viewed them as insignificant and primitive, were now forced to acknowledge their true strength. The Warbeasts had not only protected humanity, they had secured their place as the most powerful force in the galaxy. With the battle won, Marcus stood tall, his gaze focused on the Warbeasts, who had now returned to their resting state. The creatures had done their job, and they had done it well. Humanity had risen from being underestimated to becoming the most powerful force in the galaxy, thanks to the Warbeasts and their unbreakable bond with humans. As Sarah looked at Marcus, she finally understood. The humans had not only created the Warbeasts, they had created a legacy of strength, resilience, and unity that no one could break. Humanity had proven that it was not just a small, insignificant species. It was a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy would never forget it. The story of humanity's unexpected power was just beginning. The final battle had been fought. The Warbeasts, humanity's ancient creations, had decimated the alien forces with an unstoppable fury. The aliens who had once mocked humanity, who had thought themselves the supreme rulers of the galaxy, were now left to pick up the pieces of their broken empire. The once proud alien scientists, who had viewed humans as nothing more than primitive, insignificant beings, were now facing a reality they had never anticipated. Humanity was not only capable of surviving the galaxy's fiercest challenges, but it was now the dominant force. The battle was over. The Warbeasts had torn through the alien defenses like a storm, leaving nothing but destruction in their wake. Marcus, the human who had uncovered the truth about the creatures, stood amidst the rubble, gazing out at the wreckage. He had known all along that the Warbeasts were humanity's secret weapon, but even he had been amazed at how quickly they had turned the tide of the battle. The aliens had underestimated them, and now they were paying the price. The alien empire, reeling from their defeat, had no choice but to surrender. The once mighty forces, powered by artificial intelligence and advanced technology, had been overpowered by the sheer might of the Warbeasts and the indomitable human spirit. The alien scientists, who had spent years perfecting their AI-driven technology, now found themselves helpless against the power of the Warbeasts, creatures designed for one purpose only: to protect humanity and fight for them. In the aftermath of the battle, the alien empire was left in ruins. Their once proud cities were now smoldering ruins, their advanced technology rendered useless in the face of humanity's ancient creations. The alien scientists, once arrogant and confident in their superiority, now had to come to terms with a harsh reality. Humanity had outpaced them. The Warbeasts, thought to be a relic of a bygone era, had proven to be far more advanced and powerful than anything the aliens could have ever imagined. As the alien leaders met in their war council, they could only watch in disbelief as the humans took control of their galaxy. The once arrogant empire, with its AI-powered armies and technologically advanced fleets, was now a shadow of its former self. Humanity, with its warbeasts and sheer resilience, had risen to become the galaxy's new rulers. The alien forces, once invincible, had been defeated by a species they had once considered beneath them. The war was over, but the consequences of humanity's victory would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. The alien empire, broken and defeated, now had to rebuild from the ashes of their former glory. They would never forget the lessons they had learned in their battle with humanity, the lesson that no matter how advanced one's technology may be, it is the human spirit that truly defines a species' strength. In the midst of the alien empire's surrender, Marcus stood on the battlefield, looking out at the Warbeasts who had fought so valiantly. He had led them into battle, commanding them with the authority that only a human could possess. The Warbeasts had been humanity's ultimate weapon, but they had also been symbols of humanity's resilience, strength, and unity. The creatures had fought for humanity, but it was humanity's spirit that had truly guided them to victory. Xura, the alien scientist who had once been skeptical of humanity, now stood beside Marcus, watching the scene unfold. She had seen the power of the Warbeasts firsthand, and she had come to understand the truth about humanity. They were not the underdogs she had once believed them to be. They were the true rulers of the galaxy, and the aliens had underestimated them for far too long. As the last of the alien forces surrendered, Marcus turned to Xura, a solemn expression on his face. "We've done it," he said quietly. "The galaxy is ours now." Xura nodded, her eyes filled with a mixture of awe and respect. She had never imagined that humanity could rise to such heights. She had thought the alien empire would always reign supreme, but she had learned the hard way that no empire, no matter how advanced, could ever stand against the power of humanity. The Warbeasts had been their weapon, but it was the human spirit that had won the day. But there was something more to Marcus' words. As the dust settled and the alien empire surrendered, Marcus gazed out at the Warbeasts, his mind racing. They had achieved victory, yes, but he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. Humanity had always been underestimated, always seen as the underdog, but that was about to change. The galaxy had seen their power, and now it was time for humanity to take its place as the true rulers of the stars. With a quiet smile, Marcus turned to Xera and said, "We were never the underdogs. We were always meant to rule." Xera, stunned by the weight of his words, could only nod in agreement. She had seen the strength of humanity, not just in the Warbeasts, but in their resilience, their determination, and their will to survive. Humanity had not just defeated an alien empire. They had proven their rightful place in the galaxy. The screen faded to black, and the story ended with a sense of finality. But as the credits rolled, it was clear that this was not the end. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity's journey was just beginning. The Warbeasts had shown the power of the human spirit, but there were still many battles to fight, many enemies to face, and many adventures to be had. Humanity had won the war, but the galaxy was vast, and the story of humanity's rise to power was only just beginning.